So, what do I see as a seer? And so, as a seer, I can see auras, so energy around people's bodies. I can see the etheric body. I can see entities and attachments. I can see ghosts. And so, what is the difference between an entity and a ghost? So, ghosts, I've always seen and had no problem with. They're usually stuck. There's a pathway when you die, and they're usually stuck in between, and quite a lot of time can go by for them. And so one time I saw he looked like he had kind of been working on the railway, and so he was all dusty in a uniform, and he was very confused because he had gotten injured. And so as soon as I saw him, I saw that he was stuck. So I'll let them know, what the year is. They're usually quite surprised. And I will let them know kind of how to pass through, and that there is light available for them, and that they can just go towards that white light. But focus on love. Okay. And then entities are different. They're like tricksters. And so they can be very powerful because they kind of siphon energy. They can drain your energy. They're kind of like energy vampires or energy parasites. And so there's nothing to be afraid of, because you actually are more powerful in a human body than they are. But that's why they have such a large bark. And that's why they're come in so intensely and so dramatically to frighten. And so they really feed off of fear because they don't have much energy. And love is something they can't really alchemize. Love. They can't, that is too high of a vibration for them. So if you think of the discarnate energies, these are, maybe they've been human beings, but they spent most of their life lying, cheating, and stealing. And so they didn't activate much light in them. And so they can't kind of even go through the process of, doing a life review with their purpose and their lessons, because they've done so much damage. So they're kind of in a stuck place, a stuck in between place that doesn't have much light. And these can be, on Earth, they might have been extremely wealthy. They might have been millionaires and trillionaires. But if they spent their whole life lying, cheating, and stealing and causing a lot of harm, that is not very much light. And so they need energy. And so they're there to kind of siphon energy and to take energy. And they cannot take light. So light and the light body has to be earned and learned through your heart. So with entities, an example would be, I saw kind of somebody come in my room, a guy, and he had like a backpack and a hoodie up, kind of like sneaking through. And I said, hey, you can't be here. And he's like, you can't see me. And I said, yes, I can. And if I see you and I'm telling you to go, then you must go. And so he didn't really kick up much of a fight to scare me. He was more caught off guard that I saw him, because he didn't think that I could. He thought he could just come in, kind of steal whatever he wanted to steal, and then he'd be on his way. But it's all energy that they're trying to take, not light. They can't take light. They're just wanting energy. And fear is usually fear and shame. They love fear and shame. It's a very low vibration. And they can usually do a lot of manipulating and controlling with fear and shame. And another being that I saw recently it was like it had a fish body and then like a man head, like half fish, half man. And it was like walking, sneaking in down my hall. That's what I saw, like in my dream. And I was like, yeah, no, you can't be here. And it was like, why not? It's like, because you don't belong here, and I'm saying no. And then it's not being mean. Like, they can't just, I wasn't an easy mark, but maybe somebody else in the house would be an easy mark. So they're just kind of like going to whoever is an easy mark. But I'm basically saying this whole space is protected. This whole space is just for white light and just for love. And so they can't be here. And then they must leave. Okay, so that's how confident you can be, and that's how sure you can be. And remember, as a human being, you're a being. You're in a physical body connected to your soul, your oversoul, your higher self, divine presence, what Eckhart calls the deep I in your heart. So you have a lot of power. And so we're told, oh, well, you have to be afraid, these entities, they're tricksters, and they're stuck, and they're bored. They're bored. And they need energy, so they're just kind of looking whoever is an easy target. So don't be an easy target. Just tell them no. And they have to obey, because you are in charge of your space. You're in charge of your body, and you're in charge of your space. It's yours. And so you just tell them no. And then they must leave. And don't change your mind. So what happens is we say no, and then they have a bigger temper tantrum to try to frighten us. And just say no. Just say no. Even if you're frightened, stay with the no. And don't change your mind. And don't let them scare you into changing your mind or manipulating you. It's your body, and it's your space, and it's your home. You are the boss of your own energy, and you are the boss of your own space. And so if you say to them, no, you cannot be here, then they must go. And some people will say, I could hear, some people could say, but what's the big deal, right? If they're just, there as tricksters or frightening, but, it's not a big deal. They're not causing, a big amount of harm. It's like, yeah, well, you're losing sleep. You're getting distracted. And if you're activating your heart and your light body on earth, it's a huge distraction. And that's what they're wanting. They're wanting to distract you so that you don't stay focused. But if you're wanting to activate your light body and your heart on earth, which is one of the most difficult things to do on earth, is activating your light body and activating your heart, then you don't have any time for this, because you're busy. You're busy activating your light and keeping a consistent connection with your heart and your higher self. And they're a distraction. So just say no. It's that simple.